Support for this podcast comes from Invent Together. I bet you didn't know that inventing activity by Black inventors peaked in 1899, and it has never recovered. Black and Hispanic college graduates patented half the rate of white college graduates. That's just one of the reasons why you need to know about Invent Together. When our patent system gets more diverse, our nation will get stronger and more successful. Find out how you can help diverse inventors and unleash economic opportunity at inventtogether.org.
Every day can bring changes, challenges, and opportunities that can also change your personal or business financial goals and priorities. As a true partner, Sandy Spring Bank can make it all a bit easier. Someone who really listens, understands, and then creates solutions in hard times and good times. We'll always strive to be your advocate, today and every day. That's real banking for real life and real business. Visit sandyspringbank.com/real. Member FDIC.
Age of Radio.
Hey, Brendan and Nathan, and especially Montrose. My listener's choice pick is The Encounter. I have selected this movie because I know you guys especially like wrestling and watching wrestlers act. And while we've seen Hogan and Piper, you guys are missing out on the greatest wrestler of all time. The man, the icon, Sting. And not only Sting, but heel Sting, as he converses with a very cheesy Jesus. Enjoy!
You know when I pick a movie, that's when I'm under pressure now. The question always comes back to me, what were they thinking now? Whoa, what were they thinking? What were they thinking?
Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Hi, I'm Brendan. This is a podcast. It's called What Were They Thinking? Who are you, sir?
I'm Nathan.
I'm having...
Just waiting for the, the whole carnival barker thing to be done there.
Yeah, I think I'm having a mental breakdown here in the opening of this episode. We'll find out why. This is a podcast where we talk about bad to questionable movies. And of course, we are in the thick of it. We are in the middle of Listener's Choice Month. Nathan always tells me, he says, you let the internet pick them, you're going to have great results every time. I think that's his exact quote. Right? I believe that's what you say, right?
Yeah, but you see, that's the thing. There's a lot of nuance from there. I mean, you're not putting the emphasis on the right syllables.
Oh, sorry. If you let the internet pick it, it's going to be great.
No, not quite, but I mean, there's a lot of eye rolling that goes along with it too. It's more of a visual thing where it's like, oh yeah, if you let the internet pick it, it's gonna be great.
Okay, well, hold on. I know someone who's really good at visual jokes on an audio podcast. Mariah. Yeah, so we're going to talk about a movie this week, a very special movie. It's our small screen Shameful of the Listener's Choice Month. But before we talk about that, we need to bring in our guest making his return to the podcast. We had him, of course, back in March to talk about some wrestling. Ladies and gentlemen.
Thanks, Jim.
You're welcome. Ryan Gilbert.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. You're here.
Back here, talk about wrestlers and movies. Some questionable.
Usually from April to February, you're in hibernation, so we do appreciate you coming out for this event in June.
No problem.
Chipped him out of an ice block.
Yep, just like that movie with what's his face in it.
Brendan Fraser.
Is it Brendan? Oh, I was talking about the Barry Bostwick.
Encino
not
Man.
Barry Bostwick. The other one. There's another one. It's called like the Iceman or something.
Not the South Park episode.
No, and also not the one where Michael Shannon is a serial killer. Yes. So, Ryan, you have come on to talk about, and that means we're talking about a wrestling-related movie. That is, of course, The Encounter from 2010 or 2011, whoever you're asking at the time.
Yeah, that's another thing I observed from this film.
Starring the legend, the man known as Sting. Yeah.
And I'm going to get right hot out of the gate here. The greatest wrestler, come on.
I mean, I think you could consider him...
He's got some good stuff. He is up there.
You could consider him a legend, though, I think.
I could also consider all of his most successful ideas being directly lifted from something else.
Oh, only after 1997.
I think he's got lots of good stuff before 1997. Lots of great matches. He's got that legendary status, regardless of how you feel about him overall. I think he is definitely one of the more recognized names in the upper echelon, at least. Well, maybe not a Hogan or a Flair. He's still got that name recognition.
Yeah, but he needed Elegante and RoboCop to help get the job done. Just gonna put that out there.
Oh boy. So, the encounter. We talked about earlier how none of us really knew what's going to happen going into this. But this is a movie that never made it to theaters. I know everyone is...
What?
I know.
I'm sure it probably screened at quite a few Christian film festivals.
Was Kirk Cameron involved?
Not this time. There was no dubstep Santa, unfortunately, in this movie.
Plot!
But this is a movie with a pretty basic setup. There is a big storm. We have these. I think there's 5 characters outside of Jesus.
Yes.
Yeah.
Outside of Jesus in the diner. Yeah.
And the police officer.
Right. Well, but I mean, 5 main characters who get caught in the storm. They find this diner called the Last Chance Diner. Huh?
Whose sign is, constantly in flux.
Yep. Sometimes it just says diner.
Yep.
But they end up at this Last Chance Diner, where they find out that, who should be working there but a man claiming to be Jesus. What follows is a series of lengthy conversations about everyone's life. Lots of advice is doled out. Sting is is a non-believer, which is hilarious. And hilarity ensues.
Not so much, but
One point with Jesus Vulcan nerve hold, I guess.
That was incredible. There are some moments in this movie where I burst out laughing.
I guffawed.
Do you mean the Vader death choke?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, the Force choke. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we'll get to that. That's much later. We'll get to that eventually, though. So we start with it is a dark and stormy night. It is there is a terrible storm. Sting is driving his car, nearly commits hit and run. Because we have to know, guys, right off the bat, Sting plays a very important businessman. And we know that because he's constantly looking at his cell phone.
Did you notice what the name of the production company on this was?
Wasn't it Pureflix?
Oh, it was Pureflix, but there's also Forgotten Country.
Oh.
Was another one.
Oh, dear.
Yeah.
Well, I knew it was to do with Pureflix because this is the same gentleman, David A.R. White, who delivered such gems as the God's Not Dead trilogy.
Okay.
And others. At least 2 of the most hateful movies I've ever seen claiming to be Christian. Yeah, there's a whole subplot in that movie about how an atheist father abuses his child because the kid wants to be Christian.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, he almost there's a girl on the road hitchhiking. He almost runs her over. We meet two of our other characters. They're a couple, Hank and Catherine. They're clearly going through a rough patch. Because Hank apparently doesn't do anything without her approval, it seems. At some point, he doesn't even ask for fries because she doesn't seem to be okay with him doing that.
He's quite henpecked, yes.
Yeah. That's a nice way to put it. I like that. So the couple and a character later on, you hear a voice saying, "Pick her up. Pick her up." And it's Jesus. We don't know this right now. We think this is the beginning of a horror film because that's what I thought.
These are the voices in my head. See, you thought I was going to go with the Randy Orton thing, but I didn't.
No.
I was going to do it to get the wrestling reference in, but Sting is in this movie, so we're covered.
The whole thing is a wrestling reference.
Got it in. I laughed right off the bat when Jesus is doing that, pick her up, because I was like, well, that's creepy. It's a creepy delivery of that line. But Thankfully, the nice lady who we find out is named Melissa, who at this point, I swear to God, I heard her say her name was Mason. So when she says it's Melissa later on, I was like, wait, hold on.
Is it Melissa Mason?
Well, no, because she just says my name is. I heard her say my name is Mason.
Yeah.
And then
My name is placeholder name, and now my name is like legit script name.
Yeah.
And I just forgot to edit
I'm
that
not
other one.
rewatching this to find out what her if she says that or not.
Part of the Mason line.
Okay, what happened?
It turns out that's right, she was a Mason.
A Freemason?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Which is weird considering she's in this movie.
So she ends up picking up this hitchhiker, and this hitchhiker is giving off some real serial killer vibes, I gotta say. She's sitting there, and then I just got the vibe where she's like, where are you going? And Melissa's like, well, I'm going to this place. And she's like, yeah, that's where I'm going too.
She's going to Winnemucca, Mac, on a dirt and dusty road. Because she's been everywhere, man. She's been everywhere, man. Winnemucca, it's a place that's in that song as well.
Yeah.
I've been everywhere.
Have you? Everywhere? Prove it. Where are your postcards? Get them all out right now.
I just give me 1 second here.
Okay.
I can tell you where I've been so you'll know where I've been. Continue, and I'll get back to the places that I've been, man.
Okay. I know that Hank gets the message too to pick her up earlier, like pick up the hitchhiker, and Catherine is like, don't pick her up. And I guess we're supposed to be like, no, you should do it. But like, I'm just going to say, I wouldn't pick up a hitchhiker.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, I think, hashtag Catherine was right. But they all gather around because they all get stopped. The road is out, and they all get stopped by a police officer. And what is this police officer's name?
Officer DeVille.
Okay, well that won't become important later, right?
Yeah, right. As soon as they said it, I was like, son of a bitch.
So I actually missed it in this opening scene, but when I heard it towards the end of the film, I was like, fuck you.
Yeah. I was the exact same way about that. It's like, so I see what they did
back to my
there.
earlier point, Brendan. I've been to Reno, Chicago, Fargo, Minnesota, Buffalo, Toronto, Winslow, Sarasota, Wichita, Tulsa, Ottawa, Oklahoma, Tampa, Panama, Mattawa, La Palma, Bangor, Baltimore, Salvador, Amarillo, Topeka, Branquilla, Paradella, Amaqua. I've been everywhere, man.
You're
in case you didn't know that, I've also been to Boston, Charleston, Dayton, Louisiana, Washington, Houston, Kingston, Texarkana, Monterey, Faraday, Santa Fe, Tallapoosa, Glen Rock, Black Rock, Little Rock, Ocasawla, Tennessee, Chicopee, Spirit Lake, Grand Lake, Devil's Lake, Crater Lake. For Pete's sake, I've been everywhere, man. Because I've also been to Louisville, Nashville, Knoxville, Oaxaca, Sheriffville, Jacksonville, Waterville, Costa Rica, Pittsfield, Springfield, Bakersfield, Shreveport, Hackensack, Cadillac, Fond du Lac, Davenport, Idaho, Jellicoe, Argentina, Diamantina, Pasadena, Catalina. See what I mean? I've been everywhere. In like places like Pittsburgh, Parksburg, Galvesburg, Colorado, Eisenberg, Rexburg, Vicksburg, Colorado,
those of you still
Larimore,
listening
Adamore,
right
Hadrock,
congratulations,
Nebraska, Alaska,
you've made
Opakila,
it far.
Baraboo, Waterloo,
This is still
Kalamazoo,
going.
Kansas City, Sioux City, Cedar
Don't know when
City,
it's
Dodge
gonna
City.
end.
What
Don't know
a
how long the
pity!
song is.
I've been everywhere, man.
Okay,
But it all just
Songs are
started
best.
on that
Spoken
dusty
word.
Winnemucca road.
please don't go over the list again.
Okay, I digress.
So they all get stopped because the road is out. Officer DeVille says, you can't. You gotta go. The road's closed. You gotta wait. And they say, wait a second. We just passed by a diner back there, and the officer says, diner? Oh, that's been closed for a long time. But we saw it earlier, and it looked pretty operational, wouldn't you say?
Mm-hmm.
So they go. I also wrote down that Sting is blown up. He's out of gas.
I see. Yes. Yeah. I get it.
We do find out from Officer DeVille that it's probably some bureaucrat that's responsible.
Yeah, because apparently bureaucrats, aka the government, equals evil in this.
Right. But if this is the Officer DeVille complaining about that, are we saying that they're actually great?
I don't know. That's the thing. Like, I feel if they really want to get that across, they should have had him praising bureaucrats. Just thankless servants doing what they're supposed to do, just trying to do a job and keep the country running.
He just shows up and he's like, "Ha ha! I would have voted for Obama a third time." Has a different context than Get Out when he says it.
Right.
Also, this cop, I understand that we find out who he is later, but they're openly talking about how Sting almost ran this girl off the road, and he's just like,
Yep. Sounds about right.
So they do go to this diner, and they all start walking into the diner, and lo and behold, look who's running the diner. Your old pal, your old buddy, Jesus Christ himself. As like a schlubby kind of...
I was expecting a lot more, a tanned or olive skinned chap with darker hair, but I guess they're going for middle America Jesus. So
yeah, because news for everyone, he wasn't white. Sorry. So he hilariously, this is like, I will say that I got some big unintentional laughs out of this movie at times, and my first big laugh is that he has a name tag that says Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, just right off the bat. Oh.
To which Sting at one point says, "Hey, Jesus," and he says, "No, usually people just say Jesus. Don't ask me. It's my dad's idea."
Which, okay, so I mean, I guess the whole Holy Trinity thing does come up a bit in this movie because, but he says he's supposed to be Jesus incarnate. Now, I do understand that there's a Holy Trinity, Father, Son, Holy Ghost, as in one. But in this case, if he's going to say that it was his dad's idea, then he can't later claim that he is God directly.
Yeah,
right?
He does claim that later because they say like,
and some
just
people
because,
even refer to him as such.
Yeah, just because you're God, and I'm like, is he gonna correct them? And then he doesn't. He's just like, yeah, that's me, old God.
But that's
Jesus
just it.
God.
Like it's one of those things where people will say it's I don't know. It's one. They're supposed to be one and the same. I'm not super strong on the whole Holy Trinity thing. I'm not Catholic. We don't focus too much on that in my denomination. But as far as my understanding goes, is they're supposed to be, 3 in 1. Like Pert Plus.
Also, guys, Jesus, he only serves water.
No, he doesn't actually. Because
Where's
there's
the soda sign?
There's root beer, cola, and lemonade apparently available at this diner.
But he only serves water.
You know what? They shouldn't have done that. They should have just said, the machine's broke. All I have is water.
Did you ever get the sense that, okay, the whole time during this movie I'm thinking, up until about maybe 20, 30 minutes into this movie, this keeps feeling like a horror movie setup.
Yes.
Well, the way he pronounces things, it's like, I made it just myself.
Yeah. I was honestly expecting the big twist of this movie to be like he had slowly collected information on all these people individually and coordinated this big thing where they'd all end up at his cafe.
Considering how he just talks like that really husky, creepy way, I'm going to lean towards that as the new canon for this because, man, just unsettling.
His delivery was insane and infuriating at the same time. It's just like, it's this holier than, and I know he's Jesus, but it's like this holier than thou way of talking. And it's just like, I know best, like stuff like that.
I think that's what they're going for, though.
But it made me so angry listening to it. I was like, shut the fuck up, Jesus.
Wow. Hot takes.
Let me tell you something, my lord. Wouldn't it be great if Sting just cut like a full wrestling promo on him?
At times he was talking like his WCW videos, though, like, I walk in the streets of gold, like it's straight out of like the Dungeon of Doom or like the spin the wheel, make the deal kind of stuff. Just like only Sting, only a wrestler can get away with saying something so farcical like that.
Yeah. And by the way, this water is the best water they've ever had. And they said, "Oh, this is delicious." And he's like, "It's my own recipe: 2 molecules of hydrogen and 1 of oxygen."
So even Jesus is not above dad jokes.
That's the worst. We find out Sting is also like Well, he's a businessman, like I said, but he owns a chain of like burger restaurants.
He's a former football player.
He's a former football player called like Crusher. When they said his name was Crusher, I was like, oh shit, is he just a wrestler in this?
That's what I thought at first when I heard that.
That's what I thought first too. It was like, oh, football player, eh?
Yeah, well, and even when Hank is talking about how like he recognizes him, he's like, "Here you go, good for 2 free burgers." Just gives him. He's just apparently Sting's just got free coupons on him at all times.
I guarantee,
as any CEO would.
Yeah, I guarantee if you ran to Scott Steiner, he'd probably give you a couple of free dinners to his Shoney's.
Shoney's.
Can we find out? Somebody tweet Scotty.
No, you got to run into him and then compliment him first, because that's what Hank did. He's like, "Oh man, I loved your your restaurants are great. Here, have a free burger."
I would love for him to wait just so he can do the math for all the bill at the end.
So we find out very very quickly that Jesus knows all their names because he's Jesus.
Yeah.
But the girl who like the one girl who was like hitchhiking, what the hell is her? Oh, her name is Kayla. And she is not fazed in the least that Jesus just knows all this guy that's claiming to be Jesus knows all their names. She's just kind of like, if you've seen the shit I've seen, then you wouldn't be fazed by all this.
Tears in the rain.
And she also hassles him for his ID, which he gives her like a California state driver's license.
He has an actual driver's license, which, by the way, looks nothing like him.
No,
it's from this actor who played in all these other Jesus movies when he was like back in 1993.
It'd be funny if it was just like Willem Dafoe from Last Temptation of Christ. Guaranteed. The hardcore Christians that made this movie would not be referencing that one.
No.
So, yeah, the dude playing Jesus, again, he's got this creepy, weird delivery, and it just sounds like he's setting them all up to be murdered the whole time. He tells each of them what they would like for a meal. He just knows. Like, you would like something on a bed of mashed potatoes and gravy and chickpeas or whatever he says, right, to each one of them.
Jeez, that's a weird meal, Brendan, you just put together.
Well, I don't know. He says like steak and potatoes.
No, it was
gravy.
I believe it was tenderloin
Cutlets.
tips. Tenderloin tips on mashed potatoes smothered in gravy, and I don't think it was chickpeas.
Oh, whatever. Point is, he knows what they all want to eat.
Right.
He also has a collection of old newspapers because Sting sees these newspapers and he's like, why do you have these things from like 20 years ago? And he starts going on and on about the previous owner. And
I don't understand why that you do something like that it should come into play later.
Doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
Not at all.
No.
And also, like, I feel like in 2011, I know these are old newspapers, but I feel like in 2011, newspapers were fading by then, right?
2010, they were definitely dying. But I mean, it doesn't mean they're not in existence. I mean, they're still in existence today.
No, they were all burned in a pile.
So
it was like when women burned their bras. We all just gathered around, burned our newspapers.
The great newspaper fire of 2011 or 2010, whichever you want to ask.
2010. They did like Derek Savage with Cool Cat. They just went and filmed there, even though they didn't have the right to do it. And they were like, now it's in the movie.
We find out that Melissa was the reason why she was on her way to Winnemucca was to
because
see
she's
her.
Been everywhere.
Right. She's been Toronto.
No.
She's going to see her boyfriend, who she's hoping will propose to her, and then Jesus is like, "Yeah, he is," and she's like, "Squee!" and he's like, "But don't marry him."
Yeah,
because he sucks. He really sucks.
He's like, "You're traveling this long to go there so he can propose to you." Listen, he's like, he's not ready to love me. And he needs to love me. And if you tell him how much you love me, he'll resent me. So,
yep.
And listen, he said, what is he? He's like, I know you love Paul, but I love him more.
Yeah.
He says it a few times. Like, I know you love each other, but also
territoriality.
Jesus
was
here.
mine first.
Yep. Yeah. Love you more.
Love you more. He also has a line at one point where he says, someone says, thanks for the water or something, and he says, I am here to serve.
Yes. They also run out of bread, and Melissa notices they're out of bread and says, hey, can we have some more bread? And he's like, there's plenty of bread there. And then the basket is magically refilled. And at that point, I was like, fucking come on, movie.
Again, it'd be great if he was just a weird magician.
Right?
It's at this point where he is taking everyone's orders. He says, don't order off the menu. Just tell me. I'm just going to get you your special meal. Which, again, Ryan, you were talking about the dicey situation here. I think I was like, he's going to poison them. But Hank and Catherine are the only ones I think that order off the menu, because he's like, you can order off the menu if you want, but I mean, come on, I know what you want. And that's when Hank is like, not sure if he wants fries, and he looks at Catherine to make sure that he wants fries. And then she's like, I don't care. Get them if you want. What's wrong with you?
Lots of things.
Jesus talks about, again, okay, guys, I'm just going to cut in right here for a second, interrupt myself. This is the plot. This is just conversations. So I'm going to be saying, Jesus is telling them about this, and they're telling Jesus about that, because this movie all takes place in this diner for the most part.
It feels like
it could be a play.
Yeah, exactly. Like could have been written by some Christian playwright to do as like a touring thing. It wouldn't require a whole lot of setting or anything like that. Even the portion with at the start where they're turned back from the flooded road and have to go back to the diner could be absolutely cut, because the officer shows up later, which we'll get to, and all the stuff that happens like afterwards outside of the diner, you don't need to see.
Mm-hmm.
So
exactly. So Hank and Catherine again are having their marital woes. Sting is like, well, I'm leaving. I think I'm just going to take your wife with me.
That was pretty fucking ballsy. Yeah. I ain't gonna lie.
The best part of that whole bit, though, is that Hank gets up and literally says the line, "Thanks, Jesus, my wife left me."
Oh, man, I laughed out so much at that.
Right? Just the way he says it, like, "Thanks, Jesus, my wife just left me."
Wah, wah.
Thanks a lot, Jesus. My wife just left me.
And he says, "Don't worry, my son, she will return." And the reason she does is because Jesus makes sure their car doesn't start when they try to take off. Oh my God. He says, Hank, if you want your marriage to be saved, just ask me. And he says, okay, Jesus, save my marriage. Later on, I guess he ends up saving his own marriage when they swap food items. So,
that's exactly what I was saying. Is like, how do they reconcile?
That's it. That's all they show us. Yeah. He's like, you want to try my salad? You want to try my burger? And they switch.
That's it. That's all it takes.
That's all it takes.
That's all it takes is to undo months and months of resentment and disdain.
So you couples out there, you having a hard time, just go to a restaurant and, share your food. Everything will be fine.
If one of you is a vegetarian,
doesn't matter. Force her. It doesn't matter.
Force her. Eat the burger.
I said, eat the fucking burger. It'll save our marriage.
When someone says that, that's when you fucking walk out that door. That's like, no, this is the end of our marriage, dear.
Yeah. But there's a bathroom confessional at one point.
Doesn't that bathroom, the bathroom that people keep going to, also, like, Sting makes a joke, is like, well, Jesus, if you're everywhere, aren't you also in the ladies' room? And Jesus is like, sometimes we make jokes, but sometimes we make jokes that we shouldn't make, or something like that. Like, he gets super serious.
Yeah.
And there was a long pause, and I made a joke like, and then yes.
I was just like, lighten up, Jesus. Jeez.
So, Jesus, if you're everywhere, aren't you in the ladies' room as well?
Nick, you've got quite a sense of humor, but eventually you're going to find out that you can't make a joke about everything.
There's that, and then there's also this whole thing where it kind of comes to a head about Sting and him getting hurt and blaming Jesus. And Jesus is like, whoa, I saved you by tripping you, because if I hadn't tripped you with the rock that I put in front of you, you would have smashed your head off the rock that you banged your hand off of when you jumped into the quarry, you dolt.
And then he was like, why did you just take the stone away? And he's like, well, you needed to get a little hurt.
Yeah.
So you remembered. It's like, okay. Sting's parents were real salt of the earth types. You know,
Dad run a fruit stand.
Fruit stand.
So rich business.
He's from Letterkenny. Fella comes up to the produce stand the other day.
Rich businessman equals evil, essentially. He calls Sting's grandmother a prayer warrior.
That was intriguing.
Like, I wanted to see that in action.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Praying intensifies the subtitle.
But she comes out with like the ultimate warrior face paint because she's a prayer warrior, and she just prayers like
shaking the clouds
incoherently, looking up at the sky, shaking her hand, saying, "You Hulk Hogan,
take the wheels, Hulk Hogan.
Take this cloud into a nosedive, Hulk Hogan.
Hogan.
Take this job and shove it." But that's not what happens.
No.
We talk about prayer warrior grandma. She just wanted Sting to be like religious and shit, and he doesn't want to be. And Jesus promised to prayer warrior grandma that he was going to help Sting love Jesus.
And there's another thing where I guess Sting is calling him out for, you know, the terrible things that go on in the world. And he talks about how we live in a fractured creation. And I was like, is that supposed to be their kind of sort of roundabout way of acknowledging that climate change is a thing?
Oh, you mean that it's just Jesus hugging us tighter?
No, that he can't do anything about that because that's our fault. But he can trip you and not make you, you know, crush your skull on a quarry rock. There's a lot of inconsistencies with Jesus' superpowers in this movie.
What? So, sorry, you were talking about the bathroom confessional. Please elaborate.
Yes. Well, there's... it's when... not Melissa. Not Beth either. What was it? Kylie? Was that her name?
Kayla?
She goes in and yeah, and she starts kind of having these I guess, you know, flashbacks to like her abusive or neglectful upbringing, which is definitely going to come to the forefront later. But it's almost like that it's a device created so that anybody who has to have some sort of, I don't know, fraught with, you know, regret or contemplation, they go into the can in this diner, and then when they come out, they're ready to talk about the terrible traumatic thing in their life that, you know, led them to where they're at. It's
literally, aside from outside of the diner, it's like the second location for the movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, so when Sting is going on and on about that stuff too, when he's like, well, how do you allow this? How do you allow that? He's like, what about people who blow up abortion clinics in the name of, you know, in your name or whatever? And I love his delivery just makes me laugh because he says like, whoa.
Pump the brakes
tell
there.
anyone to blow up an abortion clinic. Like, it's almost like he's just being really defensive. Like, that wasn't me. And then, he's talking about like, well, you don't, you know, what about all these women and children that died and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, that's his defense. Like you said, fractured world.
Yeah.
He starts going on and on about heaven for like a really long time. And I said, all right, dude, I get it. Heaven's cool. Gotcha.
I mean, personally, I could get into this whole thing as to, you know, my thoughts on the way, you know, things go with Earth and, you know, whatever, you know, God or deity is involved with us, if that's the case. And it really is, it just goes back to like a clockmaker. I mean, a clockmaker makes a clock, winds it up, sets it there, and, you know, he doesn't touch it again unless something drastically bad goes wrong. So all sorts of little bad things can happen with the clock until the clockmaker finally has to step in and fix it. But up until then, he doesn't have to do anything. Because the clock is fine. He's working on other clocks. So
that's great. I won't. I don't have anything to add because I don't want to lose half our listeners.
Okay.
Or gain more for clocks.
Hashtag clocks. Clocks, guys, please. Hashtag clocks. So Melissa, is now her time to talk about stuff, and she's talking about her kind of her depression when she was younger, and she's talking about like being in university and everything, and then she's like, and then I wasn't really into the religious stuff, but then my friend took me to a movie, and I guess it was a Christian film festival, and I said, hold the phone. Don't take your non-religious friend to a Christian film festival unless you tell them what it is first.
Oh,
I would be.
Yes, they do actually. That's a lot that happens to. I'm guessing a lot of people.
Yeah, and you know what? I would leave, and it's not even just because it's a Christian film festival. It's because you didn't give me any warning, and you're like, "All right, we're watching God's Not Dead 2, guys. Let's do this." Also, I'm not probably one to go to a movie without knowing what movie it is.
Fair, Mm-hmm. But she also had said that the breakup and everything had affected her so much, and she was depressed and contemplating like suicide and stuff like that. So I think that the idea that her friend, she just wanted to get out with her friend before she took a bunch of sleeping pills.
Well, her friend calls her when she has like the pills in her hand, and then she, and then the funny thing is she's just like, and then I laughed and I thought, I can't believe I was going to do that.
Silly Billy.
That's her delivery when she says it. I'm not laughing at the idea. Obviously, it's a terrible thing, but not handled with the best weight.
No.
Yeah. So when she goes to this Christian film festival, she says there's a guy there and he talks about God a bunch, and she's like, you know what? I think I'm Christian now. What? I can't. That's just paper.
Yeah, it's just paper. Don't worry about it.
I thought you were doing a Bob Dylan treatment.
No. I'm just moving my notes around.
Oh, I thought you were trying to show me something. I was like, what the hell? Yeah, we talked about Jesus telling her not to go marry Paul. Paul, it sounds to me like Paul's an atheist.
Yes, that's
Paul might currently be, but he does allude to the fact that eventually Paul will come to Jesus, for lack of a better term, but he can't marry Melissa, because if he marries Melissa, that won't happen. So who sucks in this situation, Paul or Melissa?
Jesus.
Well,
honestly, because it sounds like he's just like, listen, if you marry him, you guys are gonna be great and everything, but he won't love me. So this is not gonna work out for you, because I've got plans for you, and they do not involve Paul. I don't know. That's how it came across to me.
Yeah, no,
just
that's
in the movie.
Yeah, yep.
Like, it just seems weird. He just seems like kind of like a whiny bitch for this whole movie. Look,
and you were concerned about losing
voice.
Listeners.
Yeah, well, in this movie, prelude to this sentence, Jesus is a whiny bitch, guys.
And then Steve from Everything I Learned from Movies just takes that and cuts it up and uses it in his podcasts.
Do it. It's my voice. I don't care. Jesus also has a line at this point where he said, because someone says, like, what if someone doesn't want to follow you? And he says, I'll never force myself on anyone. I'm a gentleman.
I missed that line.
What a line.
I laughed pretty hard when I heard
Oh
that.
my goodness. So Jesus didn't go to Duke University.
No, he did not. He played lacrosse,
but not at
somewhere
Duke,
else.
right?
Yeah. Also, was there sushi sitting on the counter?
I didn't catch that.
I swear I saw just like a plate of sushi, and I was like,
because
how long has that been?
What he gave Melissa the tenderloin tips with the mashed potatoes and everything, and he gave the other girl a burrito, which he does not know how to make burritos.
No, that looked horrible.
That's a weird, yeah.
It was a weird ass looking burrito.
But after everyone tastes the food, they say, perfect. And he says, yeah, I get that a lot. Like, you're an asshole.
Biggest heel ever.
I was pretty upset that actually nobody said grace before they ate.
No kidding.
I mean, he's right there.
I know, but they should at least still say, please bless this food we're about to receive. May it nourish our bodies and souls.
And then he's like, duh, I did. I just made it for you.
And also, you know what is really blasphemous about this? The girl uses a fork and knife to eat her burrito.
Yeah, that's weird too. But maybe it was just a shitty burrito, though. It wasn't put together real well.
There was that, but I mean, again, you don't. Regardless, you don't eat a burrito with a fork and knife. It's just common sense.
Maybe she just didn't want to make a mess in front of Jesus.
That let me know that she is actually an agent of Officer DeVille.
Don't worry, guys. He comes back. So yeah, they're all eating their food. I think Hank is like, Jesus, aren't you going to eat? And he says, my food is serving my father. And we get a real subtle metaphor here, because throughout this movie, like we said, Sting is, which is hilarious because in real life, he's a born again Christian. But Sting is like obviously very skeptical of Jesus, and he gives him his meal, and Sting is like, you know what? Pass. Like he just shoves it back.
Yeah, he almost thinks he's gonna brainwash him with a steak.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I don't want this. And it's a very subtle metaphor, because someone says like, it's okay. Jesus says it's okay. This rejected meal will be food for others. Right.
Right.
Think about that, guys. It's a thinker.
Think about it, won't you?
we then get the backstory on Kayla, and her mother was a junkie, as she says.
Yep.
She had the
constantly in and out of foster care.
Yeah, the abusive stepdad.
Yeah.
Every movie trope about a troubled youth that you can think of is in there.
We do get some interesting flashbacks where she was going to like straight up murder her stepdad.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, and this is another one of Jesus's tricks too, because he says,
"Circumvent."
We're not dealing with Jesus anymore. We're dealing with Loki. Such a trickster.
That's what this should have been. If he had turned into Tom Hiddleston at the end of this movie, holy shit, best movie ever made. But no, because he says like, I knew you were. Well, she says like, why didn't you stop anything? Why didn't you help us when we were in so much pain? And he said, well, I did help you with one thing, because I knew you wanted to take your own life. So I made sure that your stepdad, the gun made him trip, or he put something in his path to make him trip. And so the stepdad being like, must be my too heavy gun. Here's what
happened. The stepdad had a penchant for carrying around a loaded gun in his waistband.
As he drunkenly stumbles his house.
Yes, drunkenly stumbled around and tripped, and realized, maybe I shouldn't be carrying a loaded gun in my waistband in my private home. And was like, you know what? Maybe I'll just take the clip out.
Right, and leave it right next to the gun.
Yeah.
And Jesus knew that she was dumb enough not to put the clip in.
Because she tries to kill herself with the gun, and there's no clip in it. And he's like, see, I did that, so you'd be okay. And by the way, you're welcome.
Also, I blessed you with subpar intelligence, so.
Yeah, so that's Kayla's backstory. At this point, I think we get to Sting, right? We finally get to the kind of inner workings of Sting, and he basically
before they do that, don't we get to see a stigmata scar on Jesus? Oh, and I'll say this for the movie: good on them for putting it in the right place, because anybody, and I'm gonna be like a kind of a weird morbid history buff for just a minute. Anybody who was crucified, it was not done through the hand. It was done through the wrist bone, because your hand would break and you would fall off the cross they were crucifying you on.
Yeah, take that, Mel Gibson.
Although the hand does give a much neater visual. So,
1 point for movie then.
Right?
1 point.
One. Just the one.
He does that too, because he's showing it to Kayla, I think, and he's like, see, I did that for your sin. And I'm like, okay, buddy,
for her stepfathers as well, because he wants her to forgive her stepfather as well.
Yeah, he's like, you got to forgive everyone, you got to be good, etc., etc. Then we get to Sting stuff. Sting, he accuses Sting of like not liking him, and he says, "No, I don't not like you. I'm just indifferent." And then he basically cuts a heel promo.
Basically, and it says that he wants trickle-down salvation.
Was that when he was blaming Jesus about the Canaanites and all that?
And yeah, he does his slow clap and everything. I actually have a note here because he taught Jesus is trying to sway him from his line of thinking, and I can't remember exactly what he says to him, but it did make me note, "Oh, you're so smart." Jesus.
Exactly. That's who it is.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Sting literally heel promo because he starts saying all these losers in here that believe in you.
Yeah.
Just I don't know if he was a heel in TNA in 2009 or 2010 or whatever, but
off and on.
He had that weird
Rando and he
Joker.
was the Joker.
Yeah.
Was the Joker thing a heel character?
I think it was more of a tweener character.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just saw that he was the Joker, and I was like, just gonna go back to watching something else now.
Oh, wacky TNA.
Well, it was, as far as TNA the run goes, it was successful for him, anyways. In my opinion,
it's a really good stuff, like early TNA stuff. But then that was during the Monday Night Wars 2, the great one that only lasted 8 weeks.
It's a great idea, right?
I just like the idea of Sting being completely unhinged and being a sociopath, wanting to see the world burn.
Sting is being told, love your dad's fruit stand, love your parents, why do you hate your youth? Embrace it! Oh, you guys both drank at the same time, it was weird.
That's what this movie does to you. Even just talking about it.
Yep.
Sting literally grabs him by the collar at one point. I was like, yes, beat up Jesus, do it!
And Jesus is like, relax, have some pie.
And guess what? Spoiler alert, it's your dead grandma's pie.
Ew, that sounded dirty.
Yeah. And that's when Sting is like, you know what? You're A-okay. I always wanted to eat grandma's pie. The end. Credits.
Who's co-hosting this, you or Steve? God damn it.
Hey, you first rose our attention to it. I wasn't going to say anything.
I said it sounded dirty, but you had to take it. Yeah,
you did. Too. Yes.
I like how he's talking about Sting's grandma more, and he's like, she didn't even finish high school. She didn't even learn how to drive, Sting, and she still.
What does that got to do with anything, Ryan? Or Brendan? Neither one of you guys. What is that?
Yeah.
Did you guys not feel attacked? I mean, because I learned to drive. I learned how to drive. I have a license.
I feel like I feel like a pretty complete human without knowing how to drive. I'm just gonna say that.
A bike can get you many places.
I think you're both living lies.
I think I just don't have anywhere to go.
That's kind of a sad statement.
I can drink at home, guys. Okay, just leave me alone.
That's all I want.
Yeah, so he's just ranting at Sting, show us your unconditional love. Have you never had unconditional love in your life? Why don't you love things? Why do you have to... When's the last time you told your parents that you loved them? And he's like, I buy them a house and I buy them cars. And he's like, that's not the same thing. It's very dramatic and loud.
And didn't he say he was almost embarrassed at the idea, because when he was a kid, he was... he was towing the line for Christianity, I guess.
Yeah, because, he was praying with grandma.
Exactly, and he was going to the school, the kids in his neighborhood
of Hard Knocks.
This is not the Chris Benoit story.
Oh God! Thank goodness.
This is not Dark Side of the Ring,
right? But all the kids and stuff in his school, they're all in the same, I guess, socioeconomic situation as he was in. So they all went to the same churches and stuff like that. But when he went to high school, then he got more of a mixed bag of the larger population in the town or area that he was growing up with, and he felt embarrassed by it, to which I had to write, was he really going to be thinking that the bullies at his school are going to be like, ha ha, Nick loves Jesus, Nick loves Jesus?
Yeah, that's a weird... That's one of the few things I've never really heard. The only kind of thing I've heard bullies say stuff about is when people were homeschooled. It's always like, ew, the weird homeschool kids are coming to this school now. But yeah, so-and-so loves Jesus. Not one I've heard before.
Well, no, we don't get too much time to think about it, though.
Well, I just wanted to say that he also says like he didn't embrace it as an adult, and he says, "Oh, you afraid your business partners would get embarrassed or something?" And I'm like, wait a second, he was a football star. Do you think he's worried about athletes knowing that that he's religious?
Yeah, I don't think that's the case because every single one of them thanks God for the touchdown.
Yeah,
pretty much. Yeah,
there's a bunch of Tim Tebows out there.
Right.
Yeah, so what were you going to say? Sorry, Nathan.
Well, what I was going to say is that we don't get a whole lot of time to think about that because Officer DeVille shows up. And it's supposed to have been raining to beat the band, so much so there's a flash flood warning on in the county, and he is dry as a bone.
And he's like, hey, the road's back. And Jesus is like, the road's not back. What's your plan, DeVille? And man, I wanted so much to see an actual fight here. Like,
me too.
He comes off as so maliciously evil. He should have been like tenting his fingertips and everything.
Yes, and curling his mustache.
Yeah.
But instead, like Ryan alluded to earlier, Jesus does a brief little force choke.
Yeah, it was pretty great.
On Officer DeVille, and I was like, wait, what? You have now that's your other power? What's going on?
Where's this in the Bible?
But Sting is still not buying into this Jesus guy, and he's like, you know what?
But actually, just to answer Ryan's question, that is actually in the Bible under Luke chapter 5, episode 3.
It's not 5, episode 4?
No, actually, no, sorry, no, it's not. I'm mistaken. It's not episode 5. It's episode 5, chapter 6, because that would be Empire and Jedi.
Oh, okay.
Where Luke learns his Jedi powers.
I just figured it was 5-4 because of May the 4th.
No.
Oh,
no.
Okay. That must be in the New Testament.
There you go.
But yeah, Sting is like, I'm still not buying into this Jesus stuff. I still don't think you're Jesus. I'm going to leave with Officer DeVille because he seems to know what's up. And I'm going to go back on the road and everything's going to be fine. And we get this great, hilarious, like Officer DeVille just like driving and he sees like Sting is behind him.
Yeah, you can follow me.
You can follow me. And he's driving and he's basically like...
before he left, it's just like, I got one.
He does say I got one.
And that's where he did the force choke. He's like, got one.
I wanted them to play that music from like the Wizard of Oz, like because he's driving down the road and Officer DeVille is just like
and they too sweet each other. Did you catch that?
They do.
I didn't.
They're part of the Bullet Club.
I think it's supposed to be like the two horns up, not the hook'em horns, but the two, I know I'm doing this visually. I'm gonna explain this real quick. The two horns up, which is your baby finger and your index finger sticking straight up with your thumb across your palm. That's the devil sign. Now, if you stick your thumb out, that's hook'em horns. You're cheering for the University of Texas Longhorns. Now, what they end up doing is actually the two sweet motion, which is the two index fingers up and the hand out to make it almost look like you're doing a dog shadow puppet.
Or the Jerry Lynn, just like with the thumb out too.
Oh, yeah.
So they're part of the clique.
Yeah.
Officer DeVille is all in.
There you go.
But yeah, we hear a big crash, and we later find out that Sting died. He just crashed because he followed the devil. So guys,
seek and destroy.
Follow Jesus, or you will die. I think that's a good message.
I think that's actually legitimately the message.
I know.
No, I don't mean just in this movie. I mean in Christianity in general. Because the whole idea is you're supposed to follow Jesus to have everlasting life, and if you don't believe in him, you will perish.
Yeah, it's kind of fucked up. So we get back to the diner, and Jesus is kind of giving his parting words to everyone. There's an awkward moment where Kayla is like, "Hey, so can I talk to you?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'll totes be listening. Just talk to me, and I'll be there 100%." And she's like, "Am I ever gonna see you again?" And he's like, "Oh, probably,
but not in this form."
Yeah, I'll be busy. Get a cat. Maybe I'll take over that for a while.
And then they do that. Everybody gets that. But there's also the thing with we mentioned how Hank and Catherine have reconciled
because they shared food.
They shared their food. They broke bread together. Just gonna put that out there. That's
there
right.
we go.
Okay, so there's that, and then there's also like, with that, there is a thing where he says, oh yes, he says to Catherine, he loves you, not as much as I love you, but he loves you, and I'm like, it's always a competition with this guy,
right? It's always about him.
So.
Yeah, well, he actually says he says if you don't believe in me, why don't you believe your handsome husband over there? And I'm like, whoa, Jesus, she's right there. Like, no need to hit on her man.
Right.
You just help them get back together. And now you're gonna break them up again. Is this some kind of a sick game to you?
If you don't believe me, believe your handsome husband there. He's a good man. And he loves you very much. Of course, not as much as I do.
I'm really surprised that they stopped short of saying that she should be kind of subservient to him.
It got close, man.
Yeah.
It got real close because anytime he said, she's not into the marriage, Jesus was basically like, no, she is. She needs you. She needs to stay with you. I'm going to save everything. Yeah. Like, she doesn't really get to have like her own opinion.
Or, whether or not she should stay with this guy or not. I mean...
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of a loser, I'm just going to say it.
It's a bit of a wimp when you
bit
get...
of a... Yeah, a little bit. So they all start to leave. They all go down the road. They actually meet up with a different cop, and he's like, whoa, can't go past here. There was a bad accident. And he is giving them too much information about the accident.
Yeah, because they're like, was it a Mercedes? What, was it? And they're like, yeah, it is.
The BMW was like, yeah, it was. It sucked.
Well, what happened to the police officer that was with them? What do you mean? Officer DeVille.
Officer DeVille.
And they're like, there's no Officer DeVille on our force. He's like, yeah, it is. DEVIL. And the words die in her throat.
So, guys, if anyone hasn't figured it out by now, Officer DeVille is the devil.
Right. He even had a Van Dyke and everything.
Yep.
Yeah. That's when I wrote, and this is the first time I heard it because I missed it at the beginning, and that's when I wrote down in all capital letters in my notes, "Fuck yourself, movie."
I didn't know that, and I wrote down Sheriff Satan. So I was like, oh, DeVille.
Yeah. They're all they're all pretty unfazed by the way that this guy has just died.
Well, he was a non-believer.
Like,
so.
Oh, well, Nick.
Right, he's an atheist. He's dead. Yippee! The Magic Diner is gone, though.
But they are reassured they are in good hands, which means they're all insured by Allstate.
Hank is like, and then Hank and Catherine go back where the diner used to be, and he says, I knew, and she's like, you knew all along. You knew he was real. He says, I knew from the moment that I asked him to save my marriage, and he brainwashed you. Yeah,
and they have a...
we exchange food.
Do they have a loving embrace, thus reassuring us that their relationship as husband and wife is now back on solid footing? No, they have a good, solid hug.
An awkward-looking hug.
Yeah.
Like, it looked like those two actors were like, okay, fine. And then, guys...
Next week on Jesus Undercover.
Welcome to Chick-fil-A.
That wouldn't be undercover. That's just his job.
Yeah.
We get the creme de la creme, the coup de grace, the ending of this movie. A fucking
He steps
cameo.
on somebody's chest?
What?
He stomps on somebody's chest?
Yeah, Jesus comes off the top rope and crushes Sting's chest in the afterlife.